Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Irfan Hussain and I'm here with a new video regarding our course of TEFL or TESOL. As we know that it is about teaching of English to the non-native English speakers. And we have been discussing various methodologies of teaching English language, and today we are going to discuss the direct method. This is actually the reaction to the grammar translation method. We already have discussed and studied the grammar translation method in our previous lecture. That was through the teaching of principles of the language, through the teaching of grammar, through the teaching of the rules of the language, and then to practice. But direct method goes otherwise. Let us see what happens and how it happens in grammar translation method. It was popularized by a German schoolmaster named Maximilian Berlitz. He was born in Germany, but he moved from Germany to the United States in 1872. He founded the Berlitz School of Language, the first of which he established in 1878 in Providence, Rhode Island. In fact, it was not his school. It was school of some other language teacher. But when that language teacher ran away with the prepaid tuition fee, he took the charge of the school and started teaching of languages there. Here he employed a boy. He was a French boy. He worked as an assistant to him, Nicolas Charlie. And this is how, and this is where there came a turn in his teaching, and rather it came a turn in all the teaching methodology of language. Once he got ill, this is an interesting event that led towards a direct method. That Maximilian Berlitz got ill, and he appointed his assistant Nicholas Charlie to teach English to the students. And Nicholas he didn't know English well. He taught all the people in French language, and that was a time of 3 weeks. Nicholas used his body language, his actions, and other physical responses to teach the students. And what happens that after 3 weeks, when Maximilian Berlitz came back, he was amazed and surprised to know that all of the students started speaking French to some extent. And it was not taught even with the help of a single word from the mother tongue or the native tongue. So that was the event that inspired Berlitz to devise, to implement a new kind of methodology of teaching English language. So this was the foundation of direct method. That method became popular, and according to Stern, direct method avoids interference of the first language, as we see what happened with Nicholas Charlie, that he didn't use even a single word of English and takes the target language as a medium of instruction. French language was used as a medium of instruction, and it helped people to learn, to acquire French language. The second important point, according to Stern, is it avoids translation and implies communication as a technique. So communication is the key. As much communication is done, the more the communication is done, the more the learning occurs. Now let us know the basic principles of direct method. The first one is speech, that is primary. In direct method, more than writing, speech is concentrated. In grammar translation method, as you and I have studied in our schools and colleges, that we are given rules and then we are given sentences to write according to these rules. But in direct method, it is otherwise. We are more focused on the speech. The connected text is the central point of teaching of learning process. Then number three, absolute priority of an oral methodology in the classroom. As we say that speech is primary, so in the classrooms there is an absolute and complete domination of oral activities rather than the writing or other artificial activities. Target language is a medium of instruction, as Nicholas Chorley did, that he used French language and the students started learning French language. So what happens now in English language classes, and if you see in the modern English medium schools, that they use English language as a medium of instruction, rather the other languages are banned. It doesn't mean that other languages are inferior, but because English language is the target language here, so that language is being used as medium of instruction, that helps the students to learn as much quickly as possible. And this is also important, that it is about the teaching of only everyday vocabulary and sentences. What the students, what a real life person needs to use language in his real life. It is not very much about literary language, although it is not bad to teach literary language again, but the focus is on, because the focus is on the usage of the language in daily life, so daily life vocabulary is transferred to the students. Building up of oral communication skills by questions and answers exchanges between teacher and students in small intensive classes. This is a kind of activity that teacher can use, that through the question answer sessions and through discussions, language usage is promoted. This is inductive teaching of grammar. This is inductive teaching method, that rules are derived by the learner by himself by the using of language, not that he is taught language. Let me repeat it, that a student is not taught the rules of grammar, rather student himself derives the rules of grammar from the usage of the language. Next one is teaching of concrete vocabulary via demonstration, objects and pictures. The words that belong to concrete class are shown through placards, through pictures, through other objects, that is about demonstration of the objects, while the teaching of abstract vocabulary is via association of ideas. As the ideas are associated and students are taught about abstract ideas. Few guidelines are here, that in while using direct method, never translate, demonstrate. Never explain, rather act. Never make a speech, ask questions. Never imitate mistakes, correct. This is a big difference between grammar translation method and direct method, that in grammar translation method every mistake is highlighted, and sometimes teacher rather becomes strict about that, but here teacher should not strict, and there's a way of making things correct, and we will discuss in some other video how to correct some student when he commits some kind of mistake. Never speak with single words, use sentences. Do not use word like yes, no, rather use full sentence, like yes, you're right, no, it should be some otherwise, like that. Never speak too much, make students speak much. This is a big difference again between grammar translation method and grammar translation method and direct method, that in teacher talk time is greater in grammar translation method, but here student talk time is far greater, and the modern teachers, modern pedagogy tells that student and teacher proportion should be 70 to 30. Student should speak 70% in the class and teacher should speak 30 or less than 30% in the class. Also, never use a book, use your lesson plan. When you are teaching in the classroom, it is not about teaching of literature, but because when you teach literature, you have to use your textbook. But when you are teaching skills, when you are teaching functions of language, do not use the books, rather use your lesson plan and use your activities. Now jump around, follow your plan. This is the key. When you have made some lesson plan, you have to follow throughout the lesson plan, that and do not go astray, do not go here and there, rather keep your focus on your lesson plan. Never go too fast, keep the pace of students. You need not to run quickly. Rather, you need to know the pace of the student, and you have to go along with the understanding of the students. Never speak too slowly, speak normally. Never speak too quickly, speak naturally. Never speak too loudly, speak naturally. Never be impatient, take it easy. That is the key at the end. That take the things easy. So now there are few advantages and few disadvantages of direct method. Direct method is a natural method because it focuses on speaking first, and this is a natural way of learning some language. That first a child starts listening, then speaking, and then reading and writing. This is a natural way. Give fluency of speech. This is the method because you use the direct language. That is why it gives fluency. Improves pronunciation again because the student is given input, so he gets fluency in teaching, in speaking English language. And it also is, it establishes instantaneous association between thought and sound. That is very important, that you have thought in your mind but you are unable to express it in the words. But this method gives you that practice, that whatever you think you can express in your words. And to practice this, you can start thinking in the target language. You are learning English language, so try to think in English language. When you are habitual of thinking in the target language, you can speak definitely the target language as well. There are a few disadvantages as well. What is that? That it's an incomplete method. How it is incomplete, that is another debate. We may discuss it some other time. Requires efficient teacher. The teacher must be efficient and teacher must be skilled as well, because if teacher is not well skilled in the four dexterities, for language skills, he cannot convey anything to the students. And he must be equipped with the various kind of techniques, and he must have a lot of things in his toolbox to implement in the classroom. Requires linguistics minded students, linguistic minded, that he can, that they can understand the mechanism of the language, they can understand the functioning of the language. Difficult for explanation. Yes, there's difficulty in many times, because when you are not using the mother tongue, you are not using the native language, it must be difficult many times to explain the things. Difficult for activities. You have to devise activities that may engage the students directly in the target language, and that may avoid the usage of mother tongue. No grammar rules are taught, as we have already discussed, but sometimes it becomes problem because students feel difficult to induct rules from it. Willing to spend a deal of time and energy. That student must be willing, and if he is not able to spend a good deal of time, he cannot acquire the language. This is an inductive method. That is the last thing to know, that because that method of teaching is also called inductive method. Why it is? Because in it the learning of second language is from general to specific. In grammar translation method, you go from specific to general, but here it is general to specific. First, students are asked to get fluency in their language learning, then the teachers correct their grammar. As grammar is specific part of the language, and it is also needed in language fluency, but grammar is taken later in the method of L2 learning when you are teaching through direct method. So first comes fluency, first comes the spoken skill, then comes the accuracy, then comes the grammar skill. So this is all about direct method, and the next method will be the audiolingual method. Till then, stay home, stay blessed. Thank you very much. God bless you.